Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about positive vibes here on the show, and with me right now I've got a very special guest. She is a rising star in the world of wrestling, formerly with the NWA. I'm talking with the one, the only, Missa Kate. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
What's going on? How are you?
Yes, I am doing fantastic. Thank you for coming on here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I like that intro.
Oh, absolutely. So let's talk about your childhood and upbringing. Where are you from?
Well, Chicago, Illinois. Chicago sweetheart. But yeah, I grew up, born and raised Chicago, Illinois, and actually born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, not the suburbs and Clayman, the city. But yeah, and I've always been a city girl, I guess.
City girl, all right. Yeah, I've been to Chicago several times, got family there. Love going to the pizza places. You know, they got some really good pizza there. I've been to,
Food in general is pretty great over here.
yeah, I mean, love the Cubs. They've got fantastic arenas and stadiums, going to see various events there. And wrestling scene as well is pretty hot there as well.
Yeah, wrestling, especially indie wrestling, it's all pretty it's intense. And the fans make sure to let you know if you're not doing a good job. So you're constantly on your A game. So it's just, just make sure you're not slacking, and it just adds a little extra to it. But we're also it's also like a fun crowd. So yeah, as much as we're gonna get on your ass, or they're gonna get on your ass about stuff, they're still there to have a great time. So it definitely I always say all the time, it's the best city to wrestle in, regardless of, I don't care what anybody else says, it's the best city to wrestle in.
I mean, fans are passionate. They love, seeing you all, perform and entertain, and it's exciting. There's nothing like going to a wrestling show. And Chicago's definitely one of the best crowds that I've ever seen, loving professional wrestling. So many great crowds, but Chicago's definitely up there for sure as one of the top. No doubt about that. Well, let's talk about your story, how you got into wrestling, because everybody, some people have watched it from childhood, some have just fell into it. What was your story like with wrestling?
I always say I have two first matches that I've ever seen. John Cena's debut match, and then Lita when she was managing Edge in a ladder match against Matt Hardy. And it was just a mixture of John Cena being the most gorgeous man alive, and just his charisma and him just being himself attracted me to him, which I was like, oh, he seems like a really cool dude. And then when I see her, I kind of saw myself in her a little bit, as far as getting in there with the guys, being a tomboy, not being the like the other girls that are just your typical blonde hair bombshell, all that fun stuff. So just a good combination of both of them. I was like, oh, like this is something I'm definitely interested in. I was already entertained by John Cena, but now seeing Lita and being able to relate to her, I was like, okay, maybe this is a possibility for me to do this. Fast forward, like I knew nothing about the indies. I only knew about WWE. So in my head, again, I played sports my entire life, but the one sport that I was the most consistent in, and that was my favorite to play, was soccer. So in my head, I was like, oh, I have to go to the Olympics for soccer for WWE to see me, starting really small. Um, Nothing too crazy. But yeah, and at some point during that time, there was an independent wrestling show at my high school. I was like, what is this? And wrestling is this close to me that I don't have to go to an arena for? Is there something outside of WWE? Like I knew about TNA, but I only knew about TNA because when people from WWE would leave, that's where they would go, is TNA. But other than those two, I didn't really know much. So once I learned of this company, they had a training school. It was CSW. It's the where I am currently the women's champion at Chicago Style Wrestling. And yeah, I just began training, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool, being able to be inspired by so many different people. Lita definitely was a trailblazer, really captivated the audience with her moves and really could hold her own against any gender.
Mm,
Thinking back to her matches with Dean Malenko back in the 2000s, with her teaming with the Hardy Boys, just
yeah.
one of the women at the time, women wrestling men, very rare to see that, and she was one of those girls that could kick butt and really delivered,
Yep.
against both genders. And so it's so cool. Lita definitely was a trendsetter. And then John Cena, I mean, what can we say about John
It's
Cena?
freaking John Cena.
Heck of a career.
He did
Always
all
had the,
right.
yeah, never sit and never give up.
Mm,
Just had that attitude that he was just gonna stick with it no matter what. As you
yep.
can see now, transitioning to Hollywood and has done amazing things. And so getting your start on the indies. Um, Talk about training, because when I've talked to people on the show, they talk about how intense the training is. What was your story like?
So luckily for me, I have such a wide variety of a sports background. Not saying wrestling it was difficult again because it's a new movement. The most difficult thing for me was learning how to bump, which is if you're not familiar with what bumping is, it's literally where you have to throw yourself back and land safely onto your back. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And when I first started training, I want to say for the first like 2 to 3 months, I didn't tell my parents, and I was living with them.
Hmm.
So I had all these bruises, and I remember one time in particular, I was walking in the kitchen and I was just walking by, and again, because of the bumping, my neck was really sore because you're learning, so you keep
Hmm.
getting whiplash. Um, so I had a Batman neck, as I like to say. And I just remember I'm walking this way, and I think my mom's like over here. She asked me a question. I'm like, if I turn like this, she's gonna be like, "What are you doing?" So I had to like take a deep breath in, and I was just like, and I had to turn my neck and just deal with it. Um, but yeah, other than that, like I was pretty fortunate of the group of guys that I came in there with because I there was another female, but she wasn't consistent. Um, so I was just in there with the guys, and I did my first day of training. I purposely dressed like the biggest douchebag possible. Wore some big old baggy pants or baggy shorts, basketball shorts, and like a wife beater t-shirt. Got my hair in braids, like wearing high tops, just kind of like, I'm here, bro. Like, leave me alone. So, because I'm like, you don't know what to expect. And I just wanted it to be made clear, like, hey, I'm here to learn how to wrestle. Don't try to get smart. Don't try to flirt. Like we ain't trying to do none of that. I just want to get down to business. I want to learn. Um, and again, like I didn't know the guys, so but if I did, I would have known. I wouldn't have to put on that much of a front. Um, but no, I was very fortunate. The group of guys that I had, they were very helpful and just willing to teach and any questions I had and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, it definitely I think the hardest part was the bumping and hitting the ropes, which are technically cables. And unless you're in WWE, and I don't know if I want to say AEW might have rope. There are very few companies besides WWE that have rope, real rope, which I prefer to hit than cables. So yeah, hitting a cable on your lats, you have to build a callus to it. So that was another thing. But other than that, yeah, because again, I am very played many sports: soccer, basketball, figure skating, gymnastics, dance if you call dance a sport, kickboxing. I know I'm missing a little bit of
That
softball. So
that's
I did a little bit of everything, and so I had a pretty good I was able to pick up things quick physically.
Yeah, I mean that's quite an array of sports. I mean that's a diverse background you have. So it seems like you were able to pick up quickly, like you just said. So you were able to make that transition. And was there any like advice that you got from your trainers, pieces of advice that still stick with you today?
Um, Slow down. Slow down is one. Another is keep your ears open and your mouth shut. But yeah, there's a lot. Um, most of the training again because I'm me as like, like I don't make sure everything kind of means something. And luckily, because I fell in love with the storyteller of wrestling, when that was, when you're learning again, you get so into your head about moves and like doing things right. I didn't move this way, stuff like that. It's really easy for you to get lost and all that and forget why you're doing it. So something that sticks with me is like make sure everything means something. Make sure you're telling a story.
Storytelling is very important to professional wrestling because when you're in a feud, the fans want to know what's going on. They want to get invested. If you're not getting invested, you're losing them. And you have to figure out a way to bring them back, and that's very important. Any feuds that you either have been in yourself or as a fan loved because of the story?
Yes. As a fan, again, we all love the Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero custody of Dominic. I feel like
Hmm.
that's just one, and it makes me laugh because it's like, oh, we're fighting over the custody of a child. Let's fight over, in a ladder match, and the winner gets the cut. Like, you know what I mean? The concept's freaking hilarious, and I
I
love it.
know.
But we were so into it, like, no, and then Dominic got, all that stuff. But anyway, uh, reliving things.
Hmm.
But yeah, stuff like that. Again, because John Cena fan, I always liked his rivalries with JBL because the dynamics were so different. You had the Doctor of Thugonomics against JBL, who was the Republican cowboy and all that stuff. And then Edge and John Cena again, two worlds collide. To me, that as an adult looking back at that, realizing how much of a difference there was and what again, like it was literally two worlds colliding. You had the hip hop world against the rock and roll world, um, which is something that was going on in that time frame, right? Like everyone's like, no, we're holding on to rock and like real music, and everyone's like, nah, but this hip hop stuff's real cool. So, looking back in that kind of rivalry, and again, Lita was involved in that. Lita and Trish, the ultimate female rivalry, Trish and Mickey. Um, yeah, there's just like so many different ones that stick with me. Um, what I haven't really had a long storyline yet that I could say to have a rivalry. The only one that I guess I could have the closest to is when I first started wrestling. It was myself and a former tag partner of mine, Arya Kuma, against the Following, which one of you might or you might know one of the Following members was Cora Jade.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so we had a little rivalry against them at this company called Kaiju. Not the Kaiju that most people are familiar with. It was a indie promotion here in Chicago. But it was really cool because there was, me and Ari are the good guys. We're trying to fight the evil guys, and I get kidnapped at some point, and then Ari's trying to save me, and like I'm in a, just like a bunch of weird stuff happened.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Um, so it was cool because when we were traveling to or being at other shows, people were like, "Oh yeah, you guys are doing that storyline over there." So it was really cool that people recognize the storyline. Um, but yeah, I haven't really had one that's like a set storyline since. Hopefully soon. I've had my own storylines within myself,
Yeah.
but yeah, like right now at Chicago Style Wrestling, as I mentioned, I'm the women's champion at. Um, I am currently going through a little bit of a maybe an identity crisis, some might say. I am a good guy there, but there are some bad guy thoughts in my head that I'm constantly in
Interesting.
battle with. So definitely go check that out. Um, so yeah, I guess that's kind of where it is as far as storyline goes right now.
What's your dream storyline? Any dream opponents, dream matches? Who would you like to face down the line if you had to pick someone?
It's so hard. I mean, of course, John Cena. I would love amazing story. I could think of a great storyline with him. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different people right now that are or characters right now in wrestling, which is great. Everyone's not just a person anymore. That I feel like the Missa Kate character can, play with. Somebody that I would want to have a storyline with is actually AJ Lee. She ever comes back, just because she's done so well. She would have different storylines. Her and Caitlyn had a storyline. Her and Nikki Bella, but she had a storyline within herself. So her and Paige, Paige is or Saraya now. I'm sorry, it's another one I'd love to have a storyline with. Trish Stratus, Mercedes Monet, Camille, Deanna Purrazzo. There's a bunch. If you want to keep it in Chicago, myself and Kylie Ray, I think could have a fun little storyline go on. Um, just in the parallels of our again, she's been doing this, she's a veteran compared to me,
Hmm.
but just in parallels for certain things. I think it would be a really fun story, or even Sky Blue. Her and I have even a closer parallel. So yeah, I love story, and I don't want to say what stories I think of or write down because I want to keep those to myself.
Yeah,
And then if they do happen, then I'll reveal it. But yeah, there's Chelsea Green is another one. Chelsea Green, I would love. I feel like that would be so much fun.
I could
Just
definitely see
her.
that.
Oh, I think we'd have a hoot nanny. Like it would be great.
Yeah. And you recently were part of the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance. What was it like working there?
It was a great experience. It was different because you had to learn to work TV. So that I wasn't used to working, tapings I wasn't used to. Um, sometimes having multiple matches in one day. So it kind of forced you to get on your A game a little bit. There would be two shows recorded in one day, or two sets of tapings, I should say, in one day. And you would have, two matches. So you'd have to get one match together. And then more than likely, because if you're me, I have OCD where I like to change. So I would change gear for the second. And then if there's promos that you got to do or anything like that. So overall, that was like a really interesting experience and just learning from the minds that are there and picking their brains and trying to experiment and use their creativity and all that fun stuff. So yeah, overall, I can't complain about my experience there.
Yeah, it's a great, great company. Who were some of your favorite opponents that you got to work with over there?
Well, of course, my former tag partner, now known as Ren St. Clair, that was really fun. Obviously, highlight, we won the tag championships there, and it was just really fun tagging with her. Her and I got along pretty well. That mixed with working with Kylan also being there was really fun. Her and I didn't have a lot of matches there, but when we did, we made the most of it. Um, Kenzie had a fun time putting together matches with her and her sister. Um, and just yeah, Camille, like we've had a match once, but it wasn't a singles match. So Angelina Love, I know I keep just rambling off people, but it's just again, I look back and I'm like, wow, I was really fortunate. Max is another person. Again, I'm very fortunate of the run that I did have there and the people that I did wrestle. Miss Tiffany Nieves, who is now there and taken over. My girl Taylor, I almost called her Taylor Wild. Wow, Taylor Rising. Um, so yeah, it's just I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do over there. Um, but yeah, again, I keep saying it, but I was blessed.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a great women's division. And I think women's wrestling right now is taking it up a notch. I mean, the caliber of talent. It's incredible to see how far women's wrestling has come. over these last few years.
No, 100%. And it's cool to see. I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. I have some gut feelings of where it might go, and there might be some areas I might be trying to push that area that into a little bit more also. Um, but yeah, I just think it's really cool now that women are no longer looked at as a bathroom break, and um, we are comfortable enough to start having our own 5-star matches, being the main event of shows and people actually coming to watch us be the main event. Stuff like that. It's really cool. It's really exciting. Yeah, I'm very blessed.
Yeah. Let's switch gears and talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of the ring. I know you've been involved with a lot of charities and a lot of charity work over the years outside of wrestling. What kinds of things have you done to help out in your community?
Well, I'll a couple things like again, I mean, like you said, outside of wrestling. With wrestling, I try to do, as many charity shows as I can. Um, but outside, something company that I work with is You Are More. For those of you who don't know who You Are More, I know it's still connected to wrestling. My whole life is wrestling, man, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
uh
No
You Are
problem.
More is a company or a however you want to phrase it, I'm sure I'm saying it incorrectly. Their goal is to try to fight the stigma against mental health and all of the negative connotations that go with it, and just letting people know like they are more than the thoughts in your head, and um what other people say about you or think about you. And it's just they're really two positive, great, amazing guys I can't say enough great things about. And I'm very happy and proud to say that I work with them. They actually they came out with a t-shirt with TNA, Fight the Stigma. I think it's called Fight the Stigma. If I didn't say that incorrectly, my bad, guys. My brain. But yeah, they just collaborated with TNA, which is amazing. And it's just really cool to see where they're gonna go. Outside, of course, of wrestling, I'll say I tried to work with a dog rescue, Chicago Rescue over here. I'm an animal lover. My goal is at the end, when I'm done wrestling and I have my family and all that fun stuff, is I want to have my own dog rescue or pet sanctuary. Who knows? But either way, I want to have multiple, but I do want to have one in the city because I feel like when I know it'll be very expensive, but I'll be a multi-millionaire by then, right? I'll be a billionaire, so money will be nothing. Um, but I do have a very good idea of what I would like to do in the city that I feel like no other place has. So that's something that I'm working towards, and working with CCR, Chicago Canine Rescue, and stuff like that. Um, they're really cool in helping me think of what it's like to be with a rescue, and stuff what to expect, and the business side, the nitty-gritty side, all that fun stuff. So I'm trying to educate myself now, um until so that way I'm not totally just like, all right, where are we going, when all this is done. So even though I'll never leave wrestling, I'll always be a part of it somehow. But once my body's like, hey, we want to start having some babies and we gotta like chill out, But we got plenty of time for that. I'm not saying that ain't gonna be no time soon. Give me like another like 8 to 10 years.
No worries. Wrestling's always going to be there, but I absolutely want to prepare for life outside of wrestling. Do you have any dogs or pets of your own?
I do, Beauty. I have her on a pillow. Sorry, ignore that I spilled something on the pillow. So sorry. That's
Oh, that
not
looks
Beauty.
beautiful. It's cute.
She's a pit mix. I have an obsession with pits. Those are my breed of dog. I was always told if I was a dog, I'd be a pit bull. Which I was like, makes sense because they're to me, I'm like pits are the best breed. They're like you get the best of both worlds. They're big, goofy animals. They're just so lovable, but at the same time, they're very protective, and they're like, yo, like you're all up in my space, like back up. So pitbull, clearly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Yeah, if I could, if it was up to me, I'd have like 100 dogs. But again, I'm never home, so not fair to do to my parents.
Yeah, definitely have to get some help to run the animal shelter because you're going to be busy traveling, but it's important to have something, a place for these pets because you see so many dogs and see so many pets on the street, just roaming
Especially
around.
in the city. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, you gotta give them a home because they've been neglected and you want to give them a place where they're loved and they're cared for and
Yep.
so nurtured. So that's important. So definitely would be something to look into for sure if you're interested in doing that. Um, what is it about giving back that gives you the most joy?
Um, to me, honestly, it's just, I guess, connecting with people, mainly animal. I love my, again, animal lover, but connecting with people when it comes to animals, cool. It's really cool to me for, you know, beauty. I always say is my dog daughter. Um,
Hmm.
so, I want to be able to do that for somebody one day to, unite um their person to their canine. I've done it with my friends. When I worked at a pet rescue, like a couple years ago, my friend Taz, um, I saw this dog that, when I was working there, I was like, oh my God, this is like your dog, 100%. Like, I need you to know. Sure enough, he got him like within the first 5 minutes of him meeting him. He's like, oh my God, I love him. And he just turned a year old, I think. Oh no, he's gonna turn a year old. Um, so yeah, it's just so stuff like that makes me happy. Because he never really had his own dog before. Again, I've never really had my own. I mean, I've had a dog, but Beauty is like my first dog. Um, but stuff like that. And again, just where I am now, I don't know where you feel on this topic, but building my relationship with God and just learning um who we are supposed to be to each other and building relationships and spreading love. Uh, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I guess yeah, just when you're saying doing charity and doing good, it's not so much about making myself feel good. It's cool making other people feel good.
Yes, always have to, you know, find the goodness in your heart, helping others, doing acts of good because we all want love. We all want some kind of, happiness in our lives and being cared for. And so it's important to have those values instilled so that we can spread the wealth and spread the love and keep everything going.
Yeah, and you never know what kind of day someone's having, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it's always important. I'm not going to share the story, but there was something in high school, not bad. It was actually a very good thing that was brought to my attention in high school that I was doing and I didn't even realize I was doing, and I helped somebody. Um, so stuff like that kind of sticks with me to where like, yeah, you never know what kind of day someone's going on. You never know what's going on in their life. So always try to be. Again, we also have to have the understanding we're people too. We have emotions. We're gonna be moody, and that's also okay. But just try not to take it out on other people and try to be considerate of others.
Absolutely.
Unless you're in the ring with me, then I'm just gonna beat the hell out of you.
Well, where do you see yourself in the next few years? What are your future goals in wrestling?
um, Again, the I feel like the obvious and the ultimate goal is to be a part of WWE. That's something that I watched growing up. So getting there, they have the most eyes on them. They reach the most television screens. They tell the most stories, and that's what I want. Is I want to tell stories. I want to, as we're talking about, we want to be there for people. For me, telling stories and being relatable is um, being there for people. So that's the company to me that I feel like would be perfect for that. But besides that, like, yeah, there are some other goals. I definitely want to try to go to Japan and learn that style and just get thrown in. Um, be terrified, but it's okay. But yeah, just kind of work with them, learn that. I want to learn UK style. I know a little bit of lucha, but I know Americanized lucha, I like to say. Definitely going to Mexico and just training for a while. Again, I love wrestling, so I want to learn as much as I can and just be the ultimate hybrid. So then that way it's like no matter what position I'm in, I could get out of it. I could go up against anybody and go toe to toe with everybody. So I always have something right when you think I'm going to go left, I'm going to go right.
Yep. Well, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. It means a
Thanks
lot
for
to
having
me.
me.
Absolutely. It means a lot to me and to my listeners that are listening to this and watching this on YouTube. Where can people find more about you on social media? If there's anything you want to plug, go ahead and feel free.
All right. So here we go. The spiel, the great yada yada yada, as I like to say. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Missa Kate 23. Why is it 23? No, I'm not a bandwagon fan of Jordan, even though I'm from Chicago. I was actually born on the 23rd. I was born on Thanksgiving, so be thankful. Missa Kate the Great was born for greatness. So Missa Kate 23, if you didn't catch that, on Instagram and Twitter, and then Missa Kate on TikTok. And if you click on those links, that are in those bios. I don't think it's on TikTok. I'm just funny there, so go follow me there. But if you look in the links in the bios of Twitter and Instagram or X, whatever you want to call it, you can find other links to my merch, my 8x10s, my t-shirts, my Amazon wish list, because you want to buy me stuff. I like free stuff, so go buy me stuff. My birthday's coming up in November, so start thinking about what you want to buy me for my present. But yeah, definitely go check that out. And then on top of that, just feel free, search my matches on YouTube, like them, comment on them, how great I am. And yeah, just keep watching.
All right. Well, thanks again, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you. I'd love to come back.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.